Hello you lovely lot, my name is Max, welcome back to my YouTube channel and another Nottingham Forest Scout Report. This is a slight rebrand on a series that I was doing during the summer, which were the Nottingham Forest player profiles. We're now rebranding them to Scout Reports because I think that is a really fitting title for what these videos are, and today is no exception because we're going to be doing a Scout Report on what could be, by the time you're seeing this, a completed signing for Brazilian maestro Gustavo Scarpa from Palmeiras. The 28-year-old Brazilian is reportedly joining Forest on a 3.5-year deal during the January transfer window from Brazilian club Palmeiras, and in this video we will be scouting the player by providing some insight into his background, talking a bit about his stats in depth, and finally spending some time talking about his tactical usage, specifically for Palmeiras and potentially for Forest under Stevie Cooper. So if you do enjoy these kind of things and you are new to the channel, don't forget to drop a like to this video and subscribe to the channel, ringing that notification bell so you don't miss a single player profile scout report in the future. With that being said, let's start talking about Gustavo Scarpa. Gustavo Scarpa was born in Sao Paulo in 1994 and is a product of the academy of Fluminense, one of the most famous and historic clubs in Brazilian football, although it is worth noting that he did also spend time in the academies of Santos and Deportivo Brasilia. And at the age of 20, he would make his debut for Fluminense, spending 3 years with the first team, in which he would make over 100 appearances, score 15 goals, and claim his one and only cap for Brazil. And it is worth noting that for back-to-back seasons between 2016 and 2017, no player assisted more goals than Gustavo Scarpa in the Brazilian Serie A, getting 22 assists in 72 matches. His team was finished 14th and 13th respectively in those 2 seasons. And these really impressive performances for what was quite a middling side at the time would attract the interest of some of the big hitters from Brazilian football, including Palmeiras. But his split from Fluminense would be far from smooth sailing, eventually living on a free following a protracted legal battle in the Brazilian courts due to unpaid wages. And really, you got a feel for Fluminense. They lose their best player over the course of the last 2 or 3 seasons on a free transfer to one of the big teams in Brazilian football in Palmeiras, and they're left with nothing and having gone through the entire legal debacle. And eventually he would join Palmeiras. In the end, the situation would resolve itself. He'd join Palmeiras and really shine on a bigger stage. But like I say, those issues wouldn't affect him too much. His on-field performances would continue to excel. Scarpa would make over 200 appearances for Palmeiras over the last few seasons, winning 2 league titles, a Brazilian Cup, and 2 Copa Libertadores, the, I guess, South American equivalent to the UEFA Champions League. His most recent one coming last season. And as we go into dissecting his stats in a little bit more detail, it is worth noting that the last 12 months have definitely been the best of the Brazilian's career thus far. Scarpa would score 7 and assist 12 in the league that campaign, the latter being the highest in the division that season. As his team Palmeiras would wrap up yet another league title, he would be named in the team of the season and eventually named the league's player of the season. And this form would really continue into continental competition, scoring 4 and assisting 2 in the Libertadores, eventually winning the cup, being named in the team of the season as well, and wrapping his season up with 2 massive titles come the end of it. And his stats in a little bit more detail are very exciting when compared amongst his South American compatriots, being in the top 5% of wingers and attacking midfielders for shots, assists, expected assists, and shot creating action. And it is really worth bearing in mind that he is a multifaceted creative player, although the best of his creative work definitely comes from passing the ball rather than carrying the ball, ranking particularly highly for chances created, passes into the final third, and progressive passes, suggesting he's really good as well in helping him build up. So as you would expect, he is a massive creative threat in the final third, and I think those numbers really speak for themselves in justifying why a player like him could potentially get a spot in this Forest side during the second half of the season. But this isn't the only facet of his game that I think is worth highlighting. He is a dead ball specialist, being in the top 1% of his compatriots for shots and goals from set pieces over the course of the last 12 months, and is attempting at least 1 shot per 90 of his 4 from dead ball situations. And like I said there, he's taken over 4 shots per 90 minutes, more than anybody in the Forest squad. For reference, Taiwo would be second with around 2.5 per 90 minutes and is a massive goal scoring threat. Although it is worth considering that the average distance of his shots are very far out from goal, around 25 yards, the bottom 1% of players in his position. He definitely needs to rein that in, maybe not take as many pot shots. Of course, some of those will be free kicks, but he definitely takes a lot of pot shots from distance. If we can rein that in, if we can discipline him a bit more and unleash some of that creativity in front of goal, we've got a really valuable asset on our hands. But yeah, when we look under the hood at what makes Gustavo Scarpa tick, there is a lot to be very optimistic about. He is a massive threat in front of goal, both from scoring and creating chances for his teammates. He is by far and away the most creative player in Brazil over the last sort of 5 or 6 seasons, and can really contribute in front of goal, especially from set pieces, which could really add a third dimension to Forest's attack during the second half of the campaign. So with that being said, let's spend a brief amount of time, we did spend quite a long time on the stats there, talking about how Scarpa can be used in a more tactical and tangible sense, what we can expect from him on the field, especially when we look into what he was doing for Palmeiras over the last 2 or 3 seasons. So I really want to caveat this section by saying I am by no means an expert on Brazilian football. I've been able to piece this together from a few articles online, what limited data I have from the Brazilian league, and really just looking at his highlights on YouTube and the kind of things he likes to do in a repetitive sense. So if you do know more about the Brazilian league, please let me know in the comment section down below if I'm right or if I'm sort of going wrong. I'd really like to know more about the player in depth, but this is going to be a general overview of what we can expect from him on the pitch. So in a general sense, this Palmeiras side actually has some similarities to Nottingham Forest under Steve Cooper. We're quite passive in the final third in terms of our pressing. We're quite good at sitting into a good reserved deep shape, and then also very good at breaking forward using long balls, very good at soaking up pressure, getting back into a really good defensive shape, and then breaking forward using really good long passing. Instead, Palmeiras manager Abel Ferreira tends to look at press triggers in terms of when he is going to instigate a high press. An example of this could be when the ball is in the possession of the opposition, they turn and pass the ball back to the goalkeeper in terms to reset play and build out again from the back. They'll use that as an opportunity to really spring forward and get themselves out of their own defensive third and really sort of reset the shape of their team, compress the pitch and prevent the team from really being able to build through the lines too quickly, maybe even shuttling players into more central areas to sort of force the ball into wider areas, a real theme that we were talking about during the summer. But in general, they're a side that are quite passive in terms of their pressing, but when they do look to press, they can be aggressive and they can really sort of step through the gears quite quickly. And really what I was trying to sort of highlight there is the fact that Scarpa is a player who has experience playing 3 at the back, 4 at the back, quite flexible systems, but systems that are quite disciplined and quite demanding on the roles of the players. And I think that's really good to show that he's a player who can come in and hopefully fit into the system quite well when he gets here. Scarpa specifically is quite a flexible player tactically. He's played quite a wide variety of positions for Palmeiras in the past. He's played on either side as a wide 10 in a 4-2-3-1. He's played as a more conventional number 10, the central number 10 in this system. He's also played in a 4-3-3 as what would be called an interior, one of the outside central midfielders pushing up as a free 8 and offering creativity. And if we move this to a 5 at the back shape, he's even spent some time playing as a left wing back, quite an aggressive and attacking left wing back in this shape, particularly in continental compositions. But I think that shows someone who has a lot of tactical flexibility, who could play a variety of roles, tick a lot of boxes for this Forest team. I wouldn't imagine he'd be playing left wing back by any stretch for Forest. I think you'd still be expecting someone like Renan Lodi or Harry Toffolo or Omar Richards to be playing there. But it's shown that in a pinch he can fill in different positions with injuries, suspensions, that kind of stuff. And obviously his biggest asset is his creativity, but his flexibility is also very, very useful. What I have really seen from Scarpa is a real propensity to drop in between the lines, the defence and the midfield, an ability to sort of pick the ball in these sorts of areas really wide. He likes to get into these wide areas, pick up the ball and then drive towards the goal into more central areas on his left foot. He can also do it on the other side, but from what I've mainly seen, he likes to do it off the right hand side. Like I say, really good at getting between the lines, getting into the half spaces, getting into the wide areas to really stretch teams, to create space in these central areas for the striker. And like I say, he really likes driving towards the goal. He can get wide, but he likes to come inside. He's got a really wicked cross in him. From the highlights I see, you have to sort of follow me on this one. He really likes to sort of like whipped outside sort of the ball, sort of outside cross rather than the inside cross that you're maybe more used to seeing from a fullback. He likes hitting this sort of outside cross towards the back post or getting this ball across the back line, and that could be a real feature of his play, potentially, should he come to the club and get a starting role on that right-hand side. Of course, he can play on the left, but I think he looks more at home. He definitely looks more natural as a right-sided attacking player, cutting in on his left foot. And for Forest specifically, you can see him kind of playing a few different positions. We've played quite a few different formations. We've played 3 at the back, we've played 4 at the back, we've played more like a conventional 4-2-3-1, we've played 4-3-3, we've played that 3-4-2-1 that we played quite often last season as well. And I think he could fit in quite a lot of different situations. Obviously, he's played right of a 3 in a 4-2-3-1 quite commonly, and I think he would be a natural fit in that position. But of course, you've got players like Brennan Johnson who want to play out there. You could see him maybe playing as the number 10 in that position, maybe dropping deeper, receiving the ball, driving through, dropping into the wide areas, switching, interchanging with his other players, with Gibbs White out on the left, because that seems to be where he's been playing for the majority of this season. You can see a lot of homes potentially for him in this system, and I think that, again, his tactical flexibility seems to be quite a good theme throughout this video. Obviously his creativity as well, but his ability to peel into wide areas, come centrally, drop deep, go wide, get into the half space, get between the lines. His ability to find space, little pockets, and interchange with his teammates is really, really good, and it could be something that adds, like I say, another dimension to our attack. And of course, speaking of adding extra dimensions to Forest's attack, we can't really finish here without talking about his ability from set pieces, taking corners, taking wide free kicks to whip into the box. He's one of the best in the Brazilian league at doing that, and he's going to get a lot of chances created for his teammates through doing that. We do actually have some decent set piece takers in our team. I would say Morgan Gibbs White's been the guy taking corners for the majority of this season, but of course, having someone who can do it on his left foot from the left-hand side, who can change the angle of crosses and corners, I think it just adds something a little bit different to this Forest side, and especially a side that this season, and especially last season, was really reliant on set pieces, was really good at set pieces in terms of creating chances. And I think, again, this could be something that adds, again, that extra dimension to our play come sort of the end of the season as we go through the second half of the campaign. So overall, if you can't tell already, I am very excited about the signing of Gustavo Scarpa. Could even be confirmed by the time you are seeing this video, and he's a player who will add so much quality into that final third. Loads of experience as well. 350 appearances in Brazil over the last decade or so is something definitely not worth sniffing at. He's a player who will obviously add flexibility as well, someone who can play a multitude of positions, and someone who can add a little bit more depth and quality in those positions. We've struggled in attack this season. We have started to click together in the last few games, but it's definitely been an area to improve, and I think he improves that position. So overall, I'm going to go and give this an A grade. I think it's a great signing, really good value for money. Obviously, a free transfer with around 5 million euros in agents' fees, and I think he's going to hit the ground running, hopefully, and do a really good job for Forest. Of course, though, let me know what you think of the signing of Gustavo Scarpa down in that comment section down below. And whilst you're down there, don't forget to drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss the Nottingham Forest Scout Reports returning during the January transfer window. With that being said, thanks very much for watching. I will catch you later.